which I understand is one of the items that Vishal will update in his report. But again, a lot of work happening in that space, and we are engaging with one another around what our submissions are looking like and the positions that we hold. The land use planning, so that's obviously a lot to do with the work that's happening within the district, particularly around the structural plan, the growth development, also with the Ngaruahia, the town centre, but also with the Ruakura and Mirimiri. So more work to be done in that space alongside Tainui Group Holdings, particularly for Ruakura and Mirimiri. And then our strategic focus areas was around social procurement. Again, very good conversation with Brendan around what we're looking at in terms of that social procurement, particularly around the Māori economy, or the 5% that's been considered in that space, and education and employment, which in particular was around what are those opportunities across the organisations where we could look at developing internships and programs of that nature. But I guess, yeah, so that's the strategic plan that we have worked on. We both, Vishal and I, have presented this to the co-chairs, to our Deputy Mayor, as well as our Chair, Co-Chair Hinarangi Raumati, in terms of the work program that we will work on as the two entities going into the new year. So if there are any part-time, happy to receive them.
Vishal, did you want to add anything to that?
No, Manaki has done an excellent job. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Right, open for comments then. Axel?
Yeah, just adding my thanks. Manaki always does an excellent job and should open the meeting on every occasion. So ably. Yeah, I mean, really, two workhorses here, the mahi that's been done by Manaki and Rochelle and Brendan. You've also now, of course, lent your wisdom and experience to this. It's in a comprehensive and actually really, how can I say it? The mahi that's captured in this, our future work program that's here, it's real, it's substantive, and it'll move us forward. I'm just so terrifically pleased to see what's captured there. So my thanks is really all I wanted to add.
Thanks, Axel. Bye. Lisa, you were going to make a comment as well?
Oh, kia ora, thank you. Yeah, just echoing Axel's sentiments, but also I just wanted to about the elections, how impressed I've been with Taurikura and the work that Waikato Tainui has supported around, getting our people out to participate in that space. I've been to a few of the hui in that Taurikura have hosted and have been impressed by the workshops and the engagement. So just really want to say a big thank you to for that support, and it's really heartening to see that we've got candidates standing in the northern and the southern wards, and that we've got others standing in the general wards as well. So just wanted to mihi to that. So thank you.
Kia ora, Lisa. Brendan?
Yeah, kia ora. Manaki and Vishal, I was going through the strategic work plan, and I just wanted to mihi to yourselves for putting this together, because you've captured it really, really well. And it's actually quite heartening to see that it goes both ways. With, like, as an example, the summer internship, not only to Waikato Tainui being part of WDC, but going the other way, which I think is really important. It's a real great approach towards partnership. So I just wanted to congratulate you on pulling this together. Thank you. And it was a good session. And Maxine Tefano was also on the session, and yeah, it was really good. So thank you, Manaki and Vishal. Well done. Good start.
All right. Just going to check in with Huirama. Do you have any comments, Huirama?
Only to tautoko all the comments that have already been said. So mea tuana ki ngā mahi koru. Tātou.
Ka pai. Thank you, Janet.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to also congratulate the team, but report on progress with the Taupiri, Hopu Hopu and Ngaruawahia structure plan being reviewed. There's been quite a few hui individual marae representatives. Last night we were at Taupiri Marae, and there's a lot of great information coming from people who are attending that to help inform us as to how we continue with that work from the council perspective, and the presenters of, or the owners, not the owners, the people that are doing the work, they are learning a lot. And so from there, I can just pass on their thanks to everyone that's participating.
Got it, Janet. Thank you. Gavin?
Thanks, Madam Chair. So just the comment I wanted to make was, and I'm agnostic in this, okay, I have no political interest at all, but in terms of the elections, I just wanted to say that overall we still have a low number of candidates. Councillor Thompson is right that we do have representatives, or one person standing for each of the 2 Maori wards, and we do have 2 other Maori candidates standing in the general wards. But overall, we have not as many candidates as we would like, particularly for our community boards, which at this stage are very poorly supported. So I just bring that up, Madam Chair, just as general information for the committee.
Oh, thank you for that. I think the fact that we have 2 candidates for the Māori wards is a real positive. Really pleased to see that has happened, as well as Māori candidates in general wards. So to me, that's all positive, and I understand that there's generally concern across the country around the numbers of candidates that have put themselves forward. And I expect there's a bit of work to happen there in terms of understanding why that's happening, you know, and what needs to happen in the future. But let's see, Friday, it's like till Friday, right, and see what happens in terms of maybe there'll be an avalanche, who knows. I just wanted to add my thanks as well to Vishal and Manaki, Brendan, Maxine, and any others who are involved in terms of the work plan. It's great to get to this point, albeit it's at year 3. It's at year 3 in terms of this committee and this Te Ara Tauda. I'd like to think that the plan has longevity as well, and that there should be no disruption, you know, given any potential changes that happen in the elections. But this is good mahi, you know, and it's good mahi across the long term for us to be doing together. So just a thank you from me as well. Any other comments before I move to the recommendation? Axel?
Yeah, just to add to that, I think and picking up on Gavin's politically agnostic point, and I guess I can't entirely claim to be politically agnostic, but the importance of this work program is actually to make that as agnostic as possible. This is to be an enduring work program between the partners, irrespective of the comings and goings, be that at you've got your election cycles as well, and ours is now upon us. We really want this to be an enduring partnership that is unaffected by the comings and goings on the political wing, and I think we've achieved that. When I look at the program that's here, and actually a lot of mahi has been done, but you know what? It talks through the mahi to come, doesn't it? Yeah. And there's a lot in front of us still, but this capsulates it and expresses the will of the partners to do so together.
Right, thank you. Oh, Donald has joined us. Kia ora, Donald.
Oh, kia ora whānau. Mahi to the work plan, and all the mahi been done by the ones carrying it out. And just like to really acknowledge the tick-offs that we've actually achieved together. So like with regards to the Māori wards, we went through a whole process and learnings with each other and created this to get to this point, and now we've got candidates standing, but we did that together. And so the importance of that, and also just acknowledging the team that came out to the marae last night, and hope they took some stuff away so that it gives every other marae in the space the opportunity to take away the presentation to construct processes that are unique to those marae, and moving forward into the structure and the planning stuff, Janet and the team from the District Council. So enabling marae, and I think that was one of the goals, not just hapu, to actually play a part in the development moving forward in WDC's takiwa. So yeah, acknowledge all the plan and the engagement and consultation process. And I suppose one question is, how do we ensure that new employees within, say, WDC and Waikato Tainui are understanding of our marae tikanga and protocols, and maybe that's was what was good last night, is that from a marae point of view, we get that opportunity to construct and then feed back into a process that's going to affect our future. So kia ora, mihi ana.
Is there a response to that comment from Donald?
So through you, Madam Chair, I can, as Tony Whitaker here, I can help with that. So we do have some courses or some education or some learnings programs within the council that we're rolling out in terms of te reo and utility. I suggest that we can build this latest contribution into those programs. So I think there's certainly a way or a framework that we have already that we can develop to address that issue raised by Don.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Janet?
Just adding to that, so the two staff representatives that presented last night at Taupiri were really appreciative of the opportunity to participate in the culture created within the marae, and with Don's help and Sam and Cheryl's help, they were blown away and just felt so safe and comfortable in that environment. So apart from the theory of learning that the council provides to staff, there's opportunities that we can participate in reality in practice, and it just creates a better understanding. And Sam or Cheryl may want to respond to this, but I know the staff were just blown away and really appreciated the hospitality. So yeah, thank you.
Ka pai. There was a mother who had put her hand up.
Morena koutou, aroha my brown hand, you can't really see it against my background, so I'll change the colour. Look, I just wanted to contribute to this kōrero and give an update that over the years, all our council partners have looked to Waikato Tainui to support them in their development in this space. So we're currently working with Ngāti Naho, the Rangiriri Brad Totorewa, to build a bespoke program for all the council partners that will help in the induction of their councillors every 3 years. And we're also working to provide programs for new staff at all our partner councils, twice a year or something, that encapsulates the history of Waikato Tainui, the Kingitanga, Raupatu, and then moves forward into the kōrero that you're having now around protocol and the correct way of doing things, I guess. Not to say that the contribution of our local marae isn't essential, it is, but this will be a program that, is a sustainable one, so that the capacity within our team isn't stretched to respond all the time, and two, that we've got something in place that when councils need it, it's there to provide you with that mātauranga that you've asked us for over the years. So we are going to test it on a council. We're still figuring out which one at the moment, but as soon as that's available, we'll make contact with Sam and the team at Waikato District Council to give you that opportunity for your councillors to be involved.
Awesome. Thanks, Mara. Lisa, you've got your hand up.
Oh, kia ora. That's really exciting, because I think the discussions, you know, for us in council with the next triennium that's will be shortly upon us, that induction and support for our Māori councillors who will be around the table will be really important as well. And to note also that Local Government New Zealand in July, you know, launched the Tuakana Teina opportunity for Māori elected members. For Māori elected members across Aotearoa. So that's another resource, I think, for both our staff and our elected members as well to utilise. So I think there's a lot of exciting stuff happening, and looking forward to it.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Donald, for taking us down that path. We've got a recommendation about our work program to pass. It's on page 16. And the recommendation is that the JMA committee approves the Waikato Tainui Waikato District Council Joint Management Agreement Committee Strategic Work Program for 22-23. Excel's happy to move. Huirama will second. Kapai, thank you everyone. All those in favour? Aye. And against, Carl. Kapai. Ko mana. Thank you everyone. That's moved. Well done, Vishal and Manaki. For getting us to this point, and we are going to move now.
Madam Chair, can I just?
Yes.
So I just want to put it out, a question really to the table that may be picked up and actioned on, is with regards to WDC's consultation communication with mana whenua, can there be a consistent strategy or approach done so that WDC comes out with all of their departments in a coordinated fashion, so that our marae, etc., are not receiving different kinds of tono for different departments of WDC. So that's something that came out, a coordinated strategic consultation communication approach. Kia ora.
Do we want to pick that up as an action maybe, and just or spend some time with Donald and drill into exactly what it is that you're asking? Because there's an awful lot of communication that does come from council. Yeah, that's you with the sound bouncing around.
I don't know what is it.
Whoever is democracy team needs to mute, I think. Okay. Try that. You'll try it now.
Okay, how's that? How's that?
Yeah, I think that sounds better. Yeah.
Oh, Madam Chair, I was just going to say, absolutely happy to have that captured as an action. In fact, we have a new staff member starting in a couple of weeks, who will be focused in this engagement space. So it's I think a really good opportunity for us to connect, and when Carleen starts to start this mahi.
Okay. So yeah, okay then. Kapai. Thanks. Is it okay, Donald? We'll pick it up as an action, and we'll see what we can do about getting a better understanding, and then maybe providing some guidance for council. Right. So let's move on to our next agenda item 6.2, strategic project and initiatives update. I'll hand it over to you, Vishal.
You're Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'll take the report as read, but I'll just spend some time going over some of the key points in it, but it'll also call upon some of the subject matter experts to provide input. And also a number of our elected members are on various regional, sub-regional governing bodies related to the work as well. So they may want to comment as well. But starting off with the local body elections, Gavin made some comments earlier on. I just want to check if Gayleen has anything else to add. Gayleen?
Not really. We did receive about 5 yesterday, and we did receive another nomination for the Tairaro Māori ward, but it had been done on a Tairanga Māori ward form. So she's bringing that back in today. So we will have two candidates for the Tairaro Māori ward at this stage. But other than that, the community boards, as Gavin said, is still slow. And as you saw on the news last night, it's across the country and everything. So nominations do close at midday on Friday, and we're prepared for a bit of a rush, which normally happens. But if there's any problems with their nominators or something like that, especially with Māori wards and general wards, we're finding that nominations are coming in with people that are on the Māori roll that can't nominate someone for the general role. So there's those issues there that we're coming across, and that's why we've asked people not to leave it to the last minute, but they have.
Kira, thanks, Gayleen. Moving on, Madam Chair, just with regards to local government reform, Council provided feedback on the interim report to the panel at the end of June, and I've shared that with Manaki, and no doubt she will be sharing that with you as well if she hasn't done so. As you will also be aware that the independent panel has undertaken iwi korero engagement across the motu, and they will be considering that feedback in the formulation of the final report as well. At this stage, we expect a next draft to be issued at the end of September, and the consultation period to start around mid-October to the end of February next year. Also, Madam Chair, there is a revised date for the panel's final report to the Minister, which is now the 19th of June 2023. It was originally April, so just to note that. If I may move on to the next one, Madam Chair, that's future-proof. Council's Strategy and Finance Committee last week on the 3rd of August recommended that the strategy be adopted by Council. That should be a mere formality. As members would know, the updated future-proof strategy incorporates the Hamilton to Auckland Corridor Plan, the Hamilton Waikato Metropolitan Spatial Plan, national documents such as the NPS on urban development, as well as government's urban growth agenda. However, the work has not ended. As members will be aware, phase 2, which is the development of the future development strategy, has now commenced. And that's also a requirement of the NPS for urban development. And that phase of work will be looking at higher growth scenarios, also a review of the housing and business capacity assessment across the sub-region. And we'll also give consideration to land transfer. For example, land we've identified in the Waikato district to be transferred to Hamilton City, and also other developer interests, especially around the Hamilton City area. So all that will be factored into the next phase of the future-proof review. I'll just carry on, Madam Chair. Maybe we can take questions or comments at the end.
Yeah.
All right. With regards to the wastewater detailed business cases, as members would know, this has been led or project managed by Jackie Collier at Hamilton City Council. Waikato District Council adopted the Southern Metro detailed business case on the 4th of July. And I also understand, Madam Chair, that Te Aratora, your executive arm, has also endorsed this or approved it. Mm-hmm. And the team is currently working on a multi-party funding agreement for the Southern DVC preferred option. So that's work in progress. There is a separate report, Madam Chair, on the Northern Metro DVC, and perhaps I'll leave comments on that to that report later on. Just moving on to some of the transport work happening currently. The Hamilton Waikato Metropolitan Transport Program business case has been approved with regards to the preferred option, which is really looking at focusing growth and public transport interventions in the HT1 corridor, extending from Ngaruawai here down to Hamilton City and to Ruakura. So the next phase of the work is currently in progress, which is the development of the management case. And that management case will be considered by the future-proof chief executives on, I think it's tomorrow, actually, and then by the future-proof implementation committee, the governing body, in September. Just with regards to some of the other transport work happening, the Rahu Pokeka Huntly railway station construction with regards to the transfer of the historic building from Lake Puketerini, that's scheduled for September. And we're hoping to do that before the elections in October. And once that's done, work will start on the construction of a display museum in that building, as well as a toilet facility for commuters. And that work will start early next year. Also, the Tuhuia subcommittee, which Donald Turner is on as well, is currently investigating additional return services between Hamilton and Auckland to possibly commence early in 2023. So those options are being looked at the moment in terms of the existing funding envelope available. And Madam Chair, the Tuhuia subcommittee has also agreed to support an investigation into a possible railway station in the north of the district. It could be Pokeno or even Tuko. So that business case will commence once we've got some funding certainty for that from the Waikato Regional Council. So we're just waiting for the Regional Council confirmation of some funding for that to commence. And we also will be initiating a number of trial bus services, and all those are listed in the report in the district over the next 2 years. A lot of these are in support of the Hamilton Waikato Metropolitan Spatial Plan and the transport connections work. So the challenge for us is that we haven't received Waka Kotahi subsidy for these services, hence there will be trial services. But we'll be working through the next LTP with, advocating for subsidy for these services with Waka Kotahi. Madam Chair, I'm going to hand over to Jim Ebenhoer now to talk about resource management and land use update. Jim?
Thanks, Michelle. Kia ora tātou. Look, I won't repeat what's in the report, just to add a little bit of additional flavor to it. The proposed district plan appeals, we have now had a couple meetings with our appeals subcommittee, and some of the members of that subcommittee are in on this call, but we're making good progress with those. Obviously, we've had to stage the discussions one by one, but all the appellants kind of know roughly when the topics are coming up. So that's proceeding well. The future district plan work program, I have to say, while there are numerous ideas for how we can further improve our proposed district plan, those are currently on hold simply because of the overwhelming amount of work required for this intensification planning instrument, or what we're calling variation 3. So as with Hamilton City and Waipawa District Council, that's been a lot of work to try to propose a variation or a plan change that meets the needs of the communities. So the legislative deadline is August 20th, which we're working towards. It's been very challenging. So in the meantime, that I think it'll be another month or so before we can start really fleshing out that the forward work program for the other district plan items beyond appeals and beyond this intensification plan change. But when we do so, we'll be working in partnership, of course, and even our initial lists are drawing on some of our collaboration to date. So we'll make sure our work programs line up on some of that detail. The RM reform, yeah, I suppose we don't have any additional insights into that. I have heard that Natural and Built Environments Act and the Strategic Planning Act, well, it says in the report later this year. I think it'll be within a month, I think is what I saw recently. So quite soon. And the Climate Adaptation Act, first half of 2023. We talked about the structure plan a bit already. So yeah, Donna Tracy and the strategic planning team, feeling very well supported in terms of engagement with iwi groups and that Topati meeting last night. Sounds like it went really well. And lastly, conservation strategy. James Fuller is on the line here, and I wondered if James just wanted to give any additional flavor to what's written there. And then I can take any questions as well. James?
Morena, everyone. Yeah, just we've reviewed our conservation strategy and also our Esplanade strategy. So they're sort of roughly around 20 years old. And I suppose the key focus of it is improving our teo, so the natural environment in the district. Council's looking to show best practice on its reserves and parks. So yeah, where we can show good examples and also seek collaboration and partnership opportunities, particularly with community groups and Waikato Tainui, local marae. So yeah, and unlocking access to some of those natural areas. So the Teo in the Waikato is in a draft format, and it will be put up for submission on our website next week. So I'll also be going back to some of our key stakeholders, which have included Waikato Tainui. So yeah, I would encourage everyone to submit and have a look, but happy to answer any questions.
Hui.
Yeah, kia ora tātou. A couple of questions, one for Jim, one for James. Jim, just in terms of the variation 3, Waikato Tainui have significant parcels of land within the rohe. Some may or may not be in the right, not consent, and designation, I suppose, to participate well in the discussion regarding the variation 3 things. So like to sort of cross-reference where those might be. So in terms of the planning, if we can have a conversation around that, and then Jim, sorry, I'm not sure what Teo is. It sounds like Taiao though, and so I think that might be. Okay,
that's my poor pronunciation, Harima.
No, cool as. Yeah, hui is all good. So just asking if the strategy is if the tile strategy is done in conjunction or aligned to our environment plan.
Yes, I hope so. So I did converse with Julian, and he gave me some good feedback, and I did review the plan. So I'm hoping it captures some of those elements, but also I'll go back to Julian and get sort of more input where we can. So.
And Hui Rama, with respect to the question about the areas within Rohi, Naurawahia, Huntly, Pocono, and Tuakau are the 4 towns that we're looking at including in this variation by virtue of their size. But of course, within that, the council is trying to focus that intensification in and around town centers in a catchment where people could easily access the services, including public transport and shops, et cetera, that they might need. So that's, I suppose, the question we're working on is to how much would this this intensification apply from one edge of each of these towns to the other edge, i.e. the whole of those 4 towns, or would it be focused around a smaller catchment? And that's where we need strong evidence around that, including reference to Ture Whaimana as appropriate, infrastructure, etc.
Yes, but specifically my questions regarding zoning, and so we wouldn't have been able to zone or rezone any of our parcels of land that may not be zoned in the right zoning capacity to do any of that. And so really just want to understand more if in fact these two things coincide, because we could participate a whole lot better if the zoning things were done properly. If we're zoned in rural, obviously can't participate. If we're zoned in residential, can do that then.
Yeah. Okay. Let's have some further conversations about that, because the council can always promulgate a plan change that does rezoning beyond what this government's requiring with this particular piece of legislation.
Got it.
Just around the conservation strategy, what kind of engagement has happened with marae and hapu in the area that are affected or potentially affected?
We haven't done much. We had looked to go out and talk to them, but a lot of the meetings were sort of cancelled. Unfortunately, it was over the COVID period. So yeah, I'm hopeful that we can get some feedback via the online document. But yeah, there's unfortunately not been a lot that's been done. So I apologise about that.
So nothing specific with marae or hapu?
No.
Okay, so we'll have to...
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, is there an opportunity for presentation to our Taiao Forum? If we arranged to bring the Taiao Forum together, who, they're all representatives of our marae, and council could come along and present to the forum. I mean, there's nothing beats going to the marae, but sometimes, it's really difficult to arrange. But yeah, I think it's a really important kaupapa, and we'd be happy to pull together the forum for that kaupapa and others that you might have. Just put that off on the table, Madam Chair.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Could we do that, James?
Yes, we'd absolutely be happy to attend and discuss it. So I'll talk to Sam and Co about that, and we'll make that happen.
Okay. Thank you for that. Just on the, sorry, I'm just trying to find some notes. Just on social procurement, can you talk us through how that's going and what kind of, I guess, in collaboration we've got going with Waikato Tainui as well? We've got some experience in this space, of course, and just want to understand how we can support or help guide that mahi.
Kia ora, Madam Chair. I have been working with Sally Reid around the social procurement space. At the moment, we have had one workshop with some hapu groups. Sally was in attendance, Pacifica, and some commercial groups. The hui was just a workshop to understand what all of us collectively are seeing within our district. Next week, I'm scheduled to meet with the ELT, and the strategy will be going to council in our August session, I think. June, July, September session, sorry, for approval. But everything is coming together, and for me, new to local government, and I think I'm 12 or 13 months in, I've got a lot of big ideas, but we actually have to navigate it successfully across the entire organisation, because there is a major step change in the philosophical approach to purchasing in this space.
Everard, do you want to just backfill a little bit more information about the earlier days of developing the strategy? Because there was a lot more
oh yes,
co-design with our partner here.
Yes. So I met, the very first person I met in council was Mara, and I think I met her in my first month in council. And as Tainui have been developing their strategy, we have been observing the progression in that. Then meeting Mara, I then met Councillor Beck and Councillor Patterson in this space. And so collectively, we've been pulling stuff together for us to get to where we are today, Madam Chair. So that has been a long process. But again, when we think about the current status quo in purchasing in council and how we want to achieve our vision of livable, thriving, connected communities, the co-design and engagement with Tainui is critically important. And actually, there is some other stuff that we are doing, such as the Three Waters project and the Mataranga Māori approach, which also talks to the procurement approach of building collectively.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. I know that from Tainui Group Holdings is certainly active in social procurement, and it's been really positive to see the I guess the progress that's been made, but there's also a whole lot of learnings that have gone with it as well, you know, in terms of providing support to those businesses where they need it, kind of being there for the long term. You know, it's not just a matter of contracting someone and then, you know, we've done our job, but it's actually a long-term commitment to social procurement in order to make change you know, that will be maintained and sustained. So there's certainly an awful lot that we can offer.
Just for a second, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, social procurement is actually only one of the things that we're focusing on to understand the economic power of our people within our district. But actually, you talk about a good point, which sits out of social procurement, but sits firmly in the procurement strategy. We call it supplier relationship management, and understanding the partnership with different parties to understand the impact to our community. So we have partnerships with Watercare, we have partnerships with Cushman & Wakefield. Partnerships with iwi businesses is critically important because it produces what I call supplier diversity. Supplier diversity gives us value add. Sometimes it might not be value add in the cost perspective, but there are peripheral values that are attained by looking at that stuff. So actually what I might do is once we go to ELT and get it into council, I'll actually provide the procurement strategy in its entirety to Sally, and so we know all parts of the puzzle together, and happy to workshop and build collectively. Thank you, Madam Chair.
That would be great, thank you. Mara or Manaki, is there anything else that we need to add in this section?
Kia ora, Madam Chair. Thank you for the report. We had a steering group yesterday. We have a social procurement steering group jointly with Tainui Group Holdings and Waikato Tainui, and it's really encouraging to hear the progress that's being made at Waikato District Council. We're cognizant of the fact that we have more than one council partner, and we're trying to unlock opportunities across all our councils. So while it's great to hear that, and we had a conversation with Sally as well, and she gave us an update. If council could be aware that we're working across the whole region with all the councils and try and align processes in, so that there's a cohesiveness to this, because that makes it easier for the end user, which is our tribal business. I guess the only other comment I'd make is that our focus first and foremost is tribal business, and then we total absolutely Māori business as well. So it's just really encouraging to hear that you are making progress, and we're really looking forward to seeing your strategy. And obviously we've already shared our social procurement strategy with yourselves as well. So that's all I have to add. Manaki, did you have anything else? No, she's turned off her screen. Yeah, kia ora tātou.
I'll just check everybody else's screens, so we're all good. Thank you,
Kia ora to
Vishal.
the chair. It's Don again.
Oh, kia ora, Don.
Just a couple of partai to Vishal. Just with regards to identifying new stations, etc., that transport space, how can we participate in that, in identifying areas and knowing that this space is going to probably continue to do that, but how would mana whenua participate in identifying those areas for train stations, and what does that look like? Kia ora.
Kia ora, Don, through you, Madam Chair. So the paper that went to the Tahuya subcommittee related specifically to Pokeno, but as staff, we've agreed to also include Te Kaupata into that study. So Don, what we'll be doing, we'll be establishing a multi-party project team shortly, which will include all the relevant rail partners, including Auckland Transport and also Auckland Council. And then as part of that, we will have to come up with an engagement strategy that enables us to ensure there's mana whenua input into the thinking. So that's very much part of the requirements, and we will be doing that as soon as we are able to secure funding for the study to commence.
Kia ora. And just another part through the chair, just around the intensification areas that have been identified. There was sort of shared last night that there's a population criteria of 5,000 or plus. And just thinking in some of the smaller areas of the intensification of housing in the areas that are less than 5,000, how do you sort of think about that? Because a lot of our whānau actually live in possibly rural areas less than 5,000, but may want to utilise some of the whenua for their whānau to come back from the cities. So it's a question about criteria really, and can we have input into that process? Where does that process look like? Because it's almost like things are being created without cognizance of input. But just sharing. Kia ora whānau.
Emily, you want to answer that?
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, happy to provide a bit of comment on that. I mean, that's a really good point. And we, of course, through our Papakainga housing provisions, among others in the district plan, we do want to be enabling in that respect. The government legislation did set firm criteria that a town had to be 5,000 or more, or intended to be 10,000. So there were some criteria there that these four towns met, but that's not to say that we can't again propose something that either rezones rural as something else, or that takes residential or other similar land in other towns and proposes an appropriate level of density. So I think it's just really, at the moment, we're, to be honest, challenged by not only the requirement that the government provided, but also the time frame within which to do it. But we've got our sights set, as do you, on what's next and how we can do that.
Kia ora.
And just for my comment on that, just supporting your comments there, Jim and Don, you make a really good point. How can we have meaningful input? How can we help shape what seems to be sort of fairly firm criteria? Actually, council feels exactly the same way. We've had through this, particularly the future proof, a huge piece of work You know, both, well, not only these people on the screen here today as partners, but you know, the other territorial authorities, all the other aligned groups that are part of Future Proof. Massive piece of work, huge public consultation, and then this new intensification just came out as a piece of legislation and cut right across it, and actually made a bit of a mockery in some ways of the very careful, you know, growth pattern projections and all the rest of it, thinking about infrastructure rollout, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, as Jim has very politely put it, we have been scrambling to try and give effect to something we must give effect to, but has come in with far less opportunity for input than some of these other, for example, future-proof growth strategies that we've been working on for quite some time. Would that be fair, Rochelle? Am I misspeaking?
Yeah, that's fine.
I would also add that probably the next cab off the rank in terms of our future work program is something that we're calling a tidy up variation, which is things that seem pretty non-controversial, that maybe weren't within the scope of our PDP submissions, but things that we can advance ahead of others. And it may well be that some of these rezonings that we're talking about, you know, when I was speaking with Donna Tracy, for example, about there's land near Huntley, et cetera, that for whatever reason didn't make it through the PDP process. But there's a list of potential rezonings that we might be talking a matter of a few months rather than, you know, years to develop that into a variation. But again, we'll have to work through that with probably with the new council post October as well.
Kia ora, sorry, just one more other part through the chair. Just around the wastewater sewage stuff occurring in Rauhi Pōkeka or into that space, just as the communication with the whānau in Rauhi Pōkeka or Marae around what that process and plan is.
Are you referring to the upgrade, Don, of the wastewater treatment plant? As far as I'm aware, I'm not sure if Gavin has any input on this, but there's been limited engagement at this stage because the upgrade has been scheduled for later on in the LTP 2028-2029. But I know that as part of the bit of funding work which Daron has will speak to, there's been some engagement in terms of projects that could be considered for that. But with regards to the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, that's something that is still will be something that the team will be doing over the course of the next few years. Gavin, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, yes, I do. Through you, Madam Chair. So what we have been having some discussions about is the possibility of bringing forward the upgrade of the Rauhi Pōkeka wastewater treatment plants in order to accommodate growth, not only within the local community, but with Sleepyhead as well. So this afternoon, I'm going on a site visit with Mana Whenua to look at two of our plants, which is Te Kaupata and also Mary. But it's the same Mana Whenua groups that we will be talking to around Rauhi Pōkeka. So that is part of the engagement process that we will be undertaking. So very early stages at the moment, but certainly we are looking to bring this forward for a whole lot of reasons, and to work in with growth and development that we are aware of. Okay, well, Mariah's also noting that members of Waikato Tainui's team are also attending, which is good. So we're trying to be inclusive. So we are trying to include all the parties that have an interest and trying to show what we're trying to achieve in the other two plants as a forerunner to what we will want to achieve with Rauhi Pōkeka as well.
Kia ora koutou.
Ka pai. All right. Shall we move on then to the recommendation?
Madam Chair, we don't need a recommendation for that one because it was actually received as part of the confirmation of status of the agenda.
Okay. Well, and the recommendation was to receive the report. So, ka pai, if we don't have to do that. But a few conversations came out of that. I guess out of that report. I just want to make sure that those things are picked up at some point, though. I guess identifying the things that Donald raised specifically, which identifying new stations, I think that's already covered in the process that's underway. Intensification and the relevance of that to whenua Māori and Papakainga development and those sorts of aspects. It would then appear that with the $5,000 population kind of criteria that would be potentially excluded. And so I just checking in about how we ensure that kind of stays on the agenda, and that so that Donald can get a response, or we can figure out how can we get that progressed if we have specific areas of whenua Māori where we want intensification to happen. And then we can talk about wastewater, I think, under the next agenda item.
Just Madam Chair, through that, I think even for general land, like people who might actually have general land, which are our whānau that have general land, not specifically identified Māori as well.
All right.
Kia ora.
Okay. Yeah. All right, well, let's carry on. We have the next thing.
Madam Chair, just to say, we'll capture those in the actions.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Kevin. The next one we have is the Northern Hamilton Waikato Metropolitan Wastewater Detail Business Case.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll lead on this one, Madam Chair. The committee will be aware that the preferred option, which is to take all wastewater from Taupiri, Hopu, Ngātawaihia, Tukawhai, Horotu, and the northern part of Hamilton to Puketi, has been endorsed. So these endorsements were done by the Project Governance Group, also by Waikato District Council on the 4th of July. And I understand from Jackie Collier, Madam Chair, that Te Aratura also has endorsed this option. And also Hamilton City as well has also made that endorsement. So the DBC does recognize, Madam Chair, that the wastewater treatment plant will need to be upgraded prior to the implementation of that preferred option, which is option A. And in fact, option 2B, which is to take wastewater from Tukawhai and Horotu to Puketi in the interim, whilst that wastewater treatment plant at Ngātawaihia is being upgraded, provides for a transition to the preferred option, i.e. option A. Madam Chair, I should also mention that on completion of the Northern DBC, and at this stage, it's anticipated that the DBC will be completed either in late August, early September. All the partner councils will need to integrate the findings from the Northern DBC together with the Southern DBC and look at further considerations with regards to the wastewater system investment timing and trigger. So that's very much work that will need to happen. Also, from a consenting perspective, Madam Chair, as committee members would be aware, the Ngātawaihia wastewater treatment plant is currently operating outside its discharge level consent. The discharge consent expires in 2028. I understand from our waters team that the desludging of the treatment ponds was completed in June this year. And at this stage, they're waiting for the biological environment to settle down before any further testing can be undertaken. So that work, that desludging has been completed, Madam Chair, but as I said, waiting for the environment to settle down.
Can I just check, Rochelle? So desludging should bring it back into its consent rules, or?
Well, that's what the testing will need to ascertain.
And testing will
Chair.
confirm.
Yeah.
Okay, or otherwise. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, just a last point from me. At the last HUI, it was recommended that a program of works be brought to the committee with regards to all wastewater treatment works in the district, and I have communicated this to our waters team. So we'll look at doing that for the next HUI, just in terms of making sure that the committee understands the sequencing of wastewater treatment works upgrades in the district. That's it from me, Madam Chair.
Kapai. Thank you for that. Are there any comments then?
Probably just, Madam Chair, to draw your attention to, we do have recommendations on page 40 in this area.
Yeah.
And hopefully we've done enough to socialise pretty early that this was coming up, and obviously we've worked together on this in any event leading up to these recommendations. But yeah, it's some really significant pieces of work and significant investments here to get us into not into compliance, but to get us in a state that's that sees us, I guess, responding to growth and actually the health of the awa, which is foremost in our minds as well.
Yeah, no, exactly, Axel. And certainly, we have supported option A at a Te Aratanga level, but we've also had a discussion at a local level about the benefit of investing in that central point of Pukete, so that we get the best possible standard of wastewater processing in the region, that and have that centralised, so that we can make as much investment as we possibly can into that one site. I think the only ongoing concern would be anything that slows that down, and the Ngarawahia system itself either not being compliant or needing an upgrade and those sorts of things, and putting the river at risk while that happens. So, but I just wanted to check in with anyone else about whether or not there's any comments.
Yeah, and so just to finish, Madam Chair, yes, I think we've got, Rochelle, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've got about 10.5 million in the LTP for Ngarawahia specifically, and about another 1.3 for reticulation renewals. So we're really putting our money where our mouth is on this.
Yeah, Kapai, thank you. Just check with Huirama, who has disappeared from my screen. And Donald, do you have any comments? Oh, Kapai Hui, thank you.
No, Kapai.
I guess one thing, Hinarangi, if I may.
Yep.
It'd probably be good to have a timeline over the next few years, how you see the delivery, or how this ultimately goes from concept to reality. That would be useful. There's a whole lot of stuff going on, obviously, with Three Waters, so how that features in that space. But also it'll be that encouragement around, given the scale of this, given the work that's been done around social procurement, to shine a light on those schemes and what could eventuate from that, given the scale of those investments. Something to note.
Okay, thanks, Brendan. And I think the timelines are probably certainly within those documents that have been issued. And then I think, and I certainly support your point on social procurement there, Brendan, in terms of opportunities being created for Māori business there that potentially weren't there before. All right, so are we happy to move to the recommendation then? This is essentially supporting the decisions that have been made in other forums, in the other forums that we are also parties to, with Te Ara Taura and future-proof. It's future-proof. So the recommendations on page 40 that we support, or that we note, option A being the preferred option, being refined at this point, and B, on completion of the Northern Hamilton Waikato Metropolitan Wastewater Detail Business Case, the relevant councils will need to integrate the findings, including further consideration of the wastewater system, investment timing and triggers, etc. Happy to move? Oh, I'm happy to move. Can we get a second to them, please? I can't see people. Janet, thank you. Hi, everyone. All those in favour, aye. And against, Carl. Bye. Thanks, everyone. Now, we're going to move to our next item, which is on page 49. Update on the establishment of the Mana Whenua Forum. Sam.
Sam.
Oh, kia ora. So this has been a joint effort with Waikato Tainui and Waikato District Council. To date, we have put plans in place where I've contacted most of the marae and just give them a verbal update of this is a plan that the tribe and the council want to do, just to give you the heads up. Already we have what do you call it? We have already got two marae who have given us mandated letters to say you talk to this person, anything to do with a marae, and they will report back to us. There are also marae groups such as when we look at Ngāti Haua, they work through Ngāti Haua Trust. All the Ngāti Mahanga marae work through Ngā Uri o Mahanga. However, what the recommendation is for the marae to say, yes, we agree with all those things, and yes, we will work with those trusts. So at the moment, it's still work in progress, and we have a draft letter to go out to all the marae, but the Waikato Tainui, they want to tweak it and put other stuff in it, so I'm just waiting for that, Madam Chair. So that's about it for the report. Yeah.
Thanks, Sam. I think the only thing, Sam, is we would like to see the final terms of reference.
What's that?
The terms of reference for the Mana Whenua forums. We had a look at the draft and we gave some feedback, and I think there was just an expectation that the final version would come back around.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Ah, okay. Can anyone else?
What's that?
Madam Chair, if I may, I thought the terms of reference were finished, but certainly we can circulate them.
Yes, please.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. I don't think we have seen the final version given. So obviously that would be good to close that loop.
Can I say something?
Yes, Sam.
Yeah. After the last hui, where we got a direction, and I just went ahead and done it. I didn't know about that that thing you're asking for. The terms of referencing. Yeah. Okay.
Well, obviously there are some terms of reference there, because when we create these forums, which we're all supportive of, it is about just understanding what the rules are generally, so that again, when people come to us and ask us any questions, we can answer those things. And then we noted as well in the document that you were waiting on Waikato Tainui to assist with the letter.
Yeah.
We just need to complete that circle as well, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right. If we could just contact, Sam, if you could contact Manaki, that would be great.
No way.
All right. Thank you. And there's no recommendation on that.
That was easy.
Okay. We can move now then to verbal updates, which are better funding.
Madam Chair, Daron Sharma will speak to that.
Thanks, Michelle.
Daron, are you online?
Don't see that person.
I think he's dropped off again. He was here. He's dropped off.
I'm just admitting him again.
Okay.
Have we got it? I think Daron. Oh,
Unless you want to come back to that item, Madam Chair.
Kapai, we can do that. Let's talk about 6.6, which is Ngāti Naho, or a, should we say a portion of Ngāti Naho. Who's speaking to this?
This in regards to the marae, Madam Chair. Okay, I had a kōrero with the kaumata, and I said to them, hey, don't you think you should go to the tribe first and have a kōrero with the tribe and all that type of stuff? She said, well, they went to ngā marae tōpu, no? So I said, no, that's different. I said, you talk to the tribe, talk to the iwi first, and then you can talk to the council through what your dreams and aspirations are. And so they were going to put in place that, but I don't know if they're going to do it yet. But they have had discussions, have kōrero with the council, and the council have given recommendations and looking at where are the appropriate places that you can establish a marae, or whether it be a real marae or a shared marae, or where you have different avenues or office blocks and all that type of stuff that goes with it. So all of those things are still in discussion and nothing concrete at the moment, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if I may, Madam Chair, the Council has already identified the need for a community hub, so it's quite separate to these conversations. Just with a growing community, there is a service centre, some discussions around a library, a range of other things that this growing community needs, and that's already in train. And it's at this point, I suppose, that we've had an approach around the aspirations for marae in the same locale, and really at that point we said, well, let's be open and inclusive in our discussions and see where that might go. But to be fair, we flagged it with this forum informally. And now formally, as soon as it came to our attention. So very much it's, we're wanting to make sure that, the correct processes and protocols are followed. We understand the sensitivities around tikanga for something that is a marae, as you and I have talked about. But yes, just confirming, Sam's comments that we're really having an open dialogue with the community group, as it were, with their aspirations, rather than making any commitments ahead of understanding where we are at with Tainui through this forum or at an iwi level.
Thanks, Axel. That's helpful. And as I have said, I think at our last in conversations with you, the use of the word marae is really, really important, and is what makes a difference to this conversation, really. And has, and certainly has some important tikanga that goes with it. And so we know that that we have a range of views within our whānau and within the wider population, but I expect also within Ngāti Naho. And so it's just really important that that group have those conversations with the iwi, with the king, with ngā marae tōpu, with their own whānau, in order to be able to think through the use of the word marae and the establishment of marae. Community centre, of course, is different, and if it's community centre with a Te Ao Māori lens or something like that, then that's probably a different kind of discussion. But thank you for the update, and I just wondered if Huirama and Donald had some comments to add as well.
Yeah, and probably just around clarity of our of the spaces that we occupy, and so if marae is used in the word, that's obvious a space that Waikato Tāne occupies for and on behalf of our forum here, and so I mean, if it's a consenting issue, of course that's you, and we're not we will support as much as we can for something happening there. But wouldn't want a sign off of a new marae coming from a council that didn't that didn't recognise that the occupation of that space within this conversation and this management group or agreement would obviously live on might be 80% on our side of the thing, and so really happy to support and what we need to do there, understanding the different parameters of what we are and are not in control of.
Well, thanks, Hui. Donald?
Yeah, kia ora, I support the sentiments of clarity, of us being clear of what is actually being brought to the table, so that we can actually discuss the specifics and how we can help maybe achieve the aspiration. But considering all of the kōrero that's occurred, clarity on this kaupapa would be great, so that we understand what we're actually talking about and can contribute to supporting. Kia ora.
Good point. I don't know if we need any much more discussion than Axel or Sam. Other than we're happy to help, really, in terms of helping to open up doors for those whānau members there to have the conversations that we think that they need to have on a tikanga basis.
Yeah, ka pai.
All right, thank you very much for that. Shall we move then to better off funding? I see Daron is there.
Kia ora koutou.
Kia ora, Daron.
Kia ora, Madam Chair. So I'm actually in the office right now, but my computer's not working, so I'm just on Zoom on my phone at the moment. So on the Better Off funding, so I'm just giving a quick verbal update on what we're doing at the moment. Since the last time that we spoke, we have formed an assessment panel, which is 4 parts council members, and we've got our 4 representatives from the north, east, south, and west wards that we've confirmed with Matua Sam. And since then, we've actually made a process for, So we've actually made a process for assessing applications and actually recommending to councils the shortlisted projects that would be going through. And we've also done a media campaign with our comms advisor just to release the fact that there is a funding available, the criteria, and we've developed the package that applicants can use to apply. Applications are closing in 9 days, so on the 19th of August. And then after that, the panel will also be hosting some face-to-face sessions at some of our marae in the district, just to have that opportunity for our community applicants to ask any questions, and likewise for the panel to ask any questions for the applicants based off the applications that they've seen. And yeah, so we'll also, after that first sort of session at the marae, we'll work to provide any support to some of our community applicants, which so with the applicants as well, we've separated it into Tuakana and Tena, so big brother and little brother, and our focus would be to sort of help our little brother applicants sort of get their applications across the line if there's good merit to it. And yes, I think that's pretty much it. We've got a lot of the information is available on our website. That's all been updated now on the public website. Yeah, so if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take it.
Right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Donald, we're just noting Donald is on part of this, on one of the assessment panels. Is that what we're saying? Or on the assessment panel?
He's on the assessment panel, yes.
Right, Mara, any comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, through you. Our team have been talking about this pool of funding as well as the other funding available to upgrade our water systems at our marae. Obviously, you know, we've got 39, I think the number keeps changing, but we've got a big percentage of our marae actually in the Waikato district. So we're just trying to get a coordinated approach. We probably won't, given the short time frame, we probably won't as a collective make any approaches to the funding in this round, but we would be very interested in sitting down with yourself, Deron, and others at Waikato District to make sure that for the next round, we're in the best position possible to support our marae. We've got 6 marae and 1 kohanga reo that are registered as drinking water suppliers. So we need to be prioritising those. And yeah, there's quite a lot happening in that space. So I guess from our point of view, just to be able to sit with you guys and, as you say, tuakana teina, and we'll help support our marae to be in the best position possible to benefit from that funding as well. But we have been thinking about it. We've got a lot of information. We did assessments. We've been doing assessments over the past 18 months of all our marae in Waikato District to see what is the state of their infrastructure and what they need to do to bring their water infrastructure up to code, or whatever the technical term is. So we're able to categorise each of our marae, and our team are working on a plan. And I know Manaaki is having direct conversations with other agencies as well. So yeah, we'll get in touch when we're ready for a kōrero. Paiana?
Yeah, thank you, Mara. That sounds really good. And really good support and assistance from WDC in that second round, obviously. Happy to as well to be advised if there are any marae who have come through the first round and any support we can offer them as well.
Madam Chair, if I may comment, Gavin here, if I may comment, just this is the smaller rounds. The next round will be significantly higher. Sorry. Will be significantly larger, which will mean more opportunities. The other thing is, I would say, don't restrict your thinking solely to water projects, because it does actually have wider implications than water projects, or wider opportunities is probably the better word than water projects. But I'm sure that Donald and others will be aware of that.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Gavin. All right. Thanks, Deron. We can move on now to 6.7 update from Māngai Māori. Over to you, Brendan.
Kia ora, everybody. I just think that as we close out this term for councillors, we're getting to a really good state of making some really meaningful progress with regard to key programs with Waikato Tainui under the JMAC. So I just want to acknowledge, the wards, the mana whenua forums that Sam is starting to pull together. I think that's really, really important. That's like the kind of missing piece between governance and the people, right? Having that connection for Sam and mana whenua to be that voice into council, which would be really, really strong. The strategic plan, I just want to acknowledge Vishal and Manaki for what you pulled together. It's awesome, right? The work around social procurement, I think it's fantastic as it's being co-created. I think there's great opportunity there. And the examples with the wastewater projects, those that were presented, there's some big opportunities there. And then I also want to acknowledge on this Better Off program, this advisory panel, it's co-leadership, and it's really in the spirit of co-governance. And I just wanted to commend members of council and staff that have pulled this together. We had a council meeting on Monday, and there we actually endorsed a remuneration program for members on that panel. So I think that's really, really good. And I think closing out this term of councillors, it's really handing over a really good platform for future councillors to be able to take it to the next level. But I just think that there's been some really good progress here. So really positive. And I think the wider of this whole kōrero today has been one of partnership. And I think that's probably one of the big things as well. So that's my update. Kia ora.
Thanks, Brendan. Any questions for Brendan?
Yeah, kia ora through the chair. And I don't know if it's to Brendan, but just asking for the next election cycle. Is WDC still retaining Māngai Māori? That's my part, but also mahi, Brendan, and the Māngai Māori for your experience and support in a lot of these forums too. Ngā mihi.
I don't know if I should answer that, Gavin, or whether you should.
I'm happy to answer if you like.
Yeah. You start.
Okay, so Madam Chair, the answer, it's a very good question, Donald. The answer to the question is that the council has left it to the incoming council to make that decision. So, and bearing in mind that, and this is not me playing politics here, but we expect there to be at least, could be up to 6 changes, maybe more, we don't know. And so it will be quite a significantly different council to the council we currently have. So that was the decision made, but that will be a decision for the incoming council to make around the whether to continue with the Māngai Māori positions or not. Have I summed it up, Mr. Deputy Mayor?
I think you have, and I'm going to venture with a personal view, and if I see Gayleen falling off her chair, I know to stop. So I think from a personal point of view, it will be a decision of the new collective, the 14 elected members. But I certainly think in reaching that decision, we need to be mindful that the 2 new Māori ward councillors will have a heck of a job. Not only is it a very large geographic area to cover and a lot of people, obviously, but also they take that same oath, they swear that same oath to always bear in mind the good of the district as a whole. And that gives them a very tough way to interact with the people who put them there, who are expecting to, obviously, for their interests to be expressed and championed. And that's where, from a personal perspective, I see the Māngai Māori role as unashamedly different. It's there to give a Māori lens, a Māori worldview, without that same obligation to speak to the district as a whole every time. So that's a personal view, and I'll be pointing that out in our discussions, should I be one of the people there.
Thanks, Axel. Thanks for expressing your personal view. Janet?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'd just like to say that personally I've found the input from both Maxine and Brendan really valuable in our discussions. And I'm not quite sure when your contract is up, Brendan. I don't know the date for that, but I'm worried about the crossover between any finalisation of our Māngai Māori contracts and the new council being brought up to speed. So I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I was wondering about some type of overlap so that any new council can see Māngai Māori in operation so that they can actually have an informed opinion on whether we should retain them or not. I'm just wondering if we should give consideration to that, because even the new Māori ward councillors will take a while to come up to speed, and as the Deputy Mayor says, they'll be in a different space anyway to what we've been utilising the expertise of Brendan and Maxine. So I think that we might need to give some consideration to this. But having said that, I don't know if I'll be on or off the new council, so we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm just throwing that as a challenge actually to our own leadership team, Gavin. Sorry to throw you under the bus, but I think it should be thought about. Thank you.
Any comments, Gavin?
Having been thrown under the bus, Madam Chair. No, look, it's a very good point. Probably, I think there's probably two steps. The first thing would be, let's see what happens when nominations close on Friday, because we may have a feeling after Friday, we may already have the shape of a new council or a good indication of what a new council will look like. And that may be a point at which we could, we can see where we go to. That's probably my starting point. The other thing is, without some kind of council resolution, there isn't a lot that I can do. What I can do is have a look at what the contracts that we have in place for our Māngai Māori positions are and when they actually terminate. I suspect they will be aligned to the date of the election, but I can certainly look into that and see. So I can't be more definite than that, Madam Chair, at this stage.
Okay. Well, I mean, I certainly support the comments from Janet in terms of having Māngai Māori in place where, as the new councillors come in and being able to see them operate.
Madam Chair, I can make one other comment, which is from a staff perspective, we certainly have seen the real benefit of having the Māngai Māori positions in place. Yeah. And the work that Brendan and Matt have done and it helped us with as staff. So we've certainly seen benefit from it as well. So.
Yeah, and I certainly support Axel's comments as well in terms of just a slightly different role, you know, in terms of having elected members in Māori wards versus Māngai Māori. I guess not needing to, or not fitting that political space, you know, able to operate in a Te Ao Māori space at council, in committees and things like that. So, yeah, we'll certainly support anything that you can do to maintain those roles. I certainly think that they have added value for all of us. And I'm just noting as well that we did ask for the positions to be embedded through a new schedule to the JMA. So maybe that's an action that needs to be noted, and let's get that let's get a formal response back on that. Mara?
Yeah, sorry, Madam Chair. That request was made, I think, probably last year, and I can't recall whether or not, Gavin, you guys came back to us and said whether that was possible. What we asked for was for the council to have a look at, and we've asked all the other councils, I have to say, whether we could embed the positions through the JMA and create a new schedule to the JMA. And I'm sorry, I can't recall whether you got some advice on that. You might have. but just having this conversation sort of brings that back to mind. So whether or not we can go back and have a look in terms of whether there was a formal response, but if not, we'd be really interested in council's response to that suggestion. Kia ora.
So, Madam Chair, thanks for that, Mariah, for that prompter. I don't know whether we got legal advice on it or not. I do know that it was the discussion that His Worship the Mayor and I had with Ruku and with Donna some time ago. So we certainly did discuss it. But I'll have to look into the whole thing.
Okay, thanks, Gavin. Let's add that to the action so that we can follow up in due course.
Just through the chair.
Yes.
I'll make just an additional partai. Just hearing two different things, and that one existing in the governance space, but then also hearing that that role actually did provide operations some good advice as well. So my partai is it could exist in governance or it could exist in an operational space where the contribution of the expertise to help move forward might be the outcome.
Yeah.
And how we achieve that, we've got possibly a number of alternatives to do that. But also, so just the value of it really, and the data that Gavin talks about around the benefits that have actually achieved a lot of the outcomes in this term, is that available to support if it sits at governance, the value that it does actually bring to the mahi done in the last term. So if there's that data to support information for the new councillors. Koira noiho. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, Don. Thank you for that.
Yeah, just Madam Chair, if I may, that's a really interesting perspective, Don. And Gavin, maybe one we could actually reflect on, because I appreciate, Marae, that you've asked every council. Of course, where every council is different is in the delegations that they give to those committees that the Māngai Māori are part of. And we've been quite in favour of devolution, I suppose you might say. So we have a lot of delegations sitting with the committees. So the committees that Māngai Māori sit on for us, the three major ones, aren't decision-making committees. Whereas I know in some of the other TLAs, that's not the case. Decision still sits with full council and the recommendations that come from those committees. But that's an interesting point, Gavin, for us to reflect on, actually, whether there is a membership of, well, basically to put it into the complexities of where the delegations sit, and that might drive some different opportunities than that I'm certainly aware of that we've thought about before. So that's really useful. Thank you, Don. I think, Lisa, you wanted to say something too?
Kia ora. Just really to support the kōrero that's happened, and I was actually going to say a similar thing as Don, that we need to look outside, what we're doing, and to be creative, because the Māngai Māori positions in council in the term that this term have been so beneficial. Of course, so too has Sam's team as well. And I think as an organisation, we've moved quite a lot into being more open about co-governance and what that looks like for our organisation. Not just with Waikato Tainui, but with our hapu groups across our district. So if we're able to think more creatively on how we can keep the skills of Brendan and Maxine in our room, it would be great if it was at the governance table, because that's there alongside all councillors, that proof of the skills and the depth of knowledge and advice that they give in debate. For example, like on Monday, Brendan made some good points, that was really helpful to our decision making. So in a perfect world, it would be great if they could continue. Kia ora.
Well, thanks, Lisa. I think we're all in alignment, Kevin. A bit of rest with you. Should we move on to general business? And so we've got Raglan Airport on general business, and I've just noted down rail strategy in terms of an update as well. I'm not sure if there's anything else, but we'll start with Raglan Airport.
Okay, so Madam Chair, probably, I'm trying to remember, but it's quite some time ago, I had a conversation with Donna, and I indicated to Donna that we were talking to mana whenua around parcels of land in Raglan, and she agreed that, well, the feedback I got was that we were doing the right thing. So more recently, we have entered into some in-depth discussions with mana whenua around the possible return of the Raglan Airfield land to mana whenua. I'll rephrase that, to the rightful owners. And I use that term because we believe that we are talking to the rightful owners, being Ngāti Mahanga, Tainui o Tainui, and the Newton family. But there are other parties who are claiming mana whenua status. So we don't want to get caught up in that argument. So we're choosing at this stage to use the words rightful owners. And we have a report going to council on Monday, which is recommending that we look to facilitate the return of the land to the rightful owners. That's pretty much the report that is going to the council on Monday, which is recommending that process that we facilitated as much as we can. Now, what we can't do is, what council can't do is it can't stop a subsequent council from changing that decision, but it is a sign of the intent of this council to make that process happen and enable us to actually work down that process. Now, again, mana whenua, or the rightful owners, are aware of this. We have talked to them. We've had, I think, around 3 hui to discuss this, but they understand the report is coming, and I know they will be in attendance on Monday. And Waikato Tainui members will be very happy to be in attendance as well. But that is our intent, or the intent of the council. So I believe it to be that to try to move this forward and address some of the mistakes of the past. And just in very broad terms, I'm not trying in any shape or form to give you a history lesson, but the basis of this was the land originally was acquired for defence purposes. I think around sometime in the 1940s, early 1940s. Obviously, it's not now used for defence purposes. It's continued to operate as an airfield, and obviously there's a process to follow for that to be returned. Officially, the council is the legal owner of the land, but there is a process of returning it to the Crown to facilitate it, return it to the Crown for that return to the rightful owners. So, Madam Chair, I just wanted to make sure that the members of the committee were aware of that. I don't know whether Councillor Thompson or the Deputy Mayor wishes to make comment on it, but I just thought it was important that the committee was aware of what we're trying to do.
Thank you, Gavin. Madam Chair, if I could just add a little bit to, as we all know that, Māori land blocks are complex, and the Raglan Airfield certainly has its complexities, because in council, the 2 blocks of land that we're looking at are Papahua and Papahua 1. And of course, as council, we entered into a relationship with Ngāti Mahanga in 1923, when with the tuku whenua that took place at that time. And Ngāti Mahanga are very supportive of this process. And then there's Papahua 1, which the descendants of Imedia Nutana Mahikai, her whānau, and the descendants of that. And obviously we've probably all been watching on and off some of what has been happening on the airfield and other discussions within the community, which in a way has undermined, the mana whakahaere of the original owners and the relationships that we have, certainly with Ngāti Mahanga Haurua. But I think that this is a really positive step forward on Monday with the discussion that will take place. And we've got overwhelming support with the hapu and whānau representatives who have been in the room with us on this journey, guiding both council, our council process and where we have landed. So I actually think it's an exciting progress that's been a long time coming. Kia ora.
Awesome. Yeah, we certainly have noticed those things happening at Raglan, Lisa, and it's good to hear the progress that's being made. Don or Huirama, do you have any comments?
Yep, just this in terms of so at the last at our last whakakitenga hui, our whenua policy was accepted, and just in there, one of the things that we look towards is and so first of all applaud the efforts and the kaupapa that's happening there for on behalf of the whānau. Offer up the iwi to support in the transfer there, or in the workings there. Just at a high level though, one of the things which is probably a partai to one of the conversations or one of the points earlier regarding transfers of lands, and if they were captured by some of our RFR, things we'd absolutely like to be in the conversation. But more so, there's a mechanism in there that I think needs to be looked at regarding internal transfers, especially so government departments to government departments, councils to councils, and different different things like that, because it is and here's my frank words around it is a way of getting around the RFR, and want to be really clear about that. So highlighting our intent to be in some way included, at least so that we can at least be clear about where we are sitting, and don't want to be caught up in all of the effects that may come after it, to say nicely.
Thanks, Hui. Donald?
Yeah, kia ora. The same, kōrero tautoko, ngā kōrero ka kōrero. I suppose one of my partai is when WDC does go through that process, what are the criteria that are going to be established, and connecting back to one, our relationship with Waikato Tainui, and also back with mana whenua, and who creates that process, if it has already been created, and going back to the intent. So I suppose the intent of our relationships, and moving forward in our vision of our communities and of our the different spaces that we hold uniquely, our history, and also moving forward to maintain the kōrero te whenua as a part of an educative awareness, as our area populates more. So sort of wanting to entrench those lots of different themes in there, and does the WDC process for transfers, like Hui was saying, allow for that? And if it doesn't, what does that look like for us to create that. So kia ora.
Thanks, Donald. I think there is to me the intent here in terms of returning the whenua to its rightful owners is awesome. But there are many layers of interests, I think, and arrangements and legislation and all sorts of things that exist in the same world as this one potential transaction. So really important, of course, that WDC observes all of those things as it goes through this process. There are other things happening as well. I'm conscious of Te Paina being in discussions. I think that's conservation. It's possibly Department of Conservation as opposed to WDC, but I expect WDC has a view on that too. But these are all things that matter in the bigger scheme of things. So, but certainly support WDC and its efforts with the airfield.
So, Madam Chair, if I can just perhaps comment on that. So I appreciate the views that have been expressed. This is a very early stage, but what it is doing is putting a marker in saying this is the intent of this council to initiate this process and to send that signal. So that's really, then we can start to work through all the things we need to do to turn that to action, including, as you've indicated, to involve Waikato Tainui in the conversation. So not trying to short circuit anything here, we just want to get the process done, and actually very conscious of an election coming up and wanting to reflect the views of this council in that decision and in that instruction to us as staff to start to facilitate that process. The second point, Madam Chair, is Te Paina. Very much aware of that. So that is and that's, I guess, an example of how long these processes take. It was a council decision from, I can't even remember the number of years ago, around, again, the council sending in and deciding wishing to relinquish its role, which was pretty much custodian for Department of Conservation. So looking after maintaining the land and working back with Department of Conservation and Waikato Tainui. Donna and I attended many meetings on this to make sure that we were proceeding down the right track. So now we've been through removing or terminating leases. We've been through that whole process, and yes, the Department of Conservation is, I think, currently doing their bit, which is some consultation to make it all happen. And we obviously have, as council, have supported that process as well and said that's our intent, that's what we want to do. So we're supporting that process as best we can now.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Gavin, for the update as well. All right. Shall we? Oh, sorry. The other thing that I was looking for was an update on the reo strategy that came to us at our last meeting. We had a bit of a discussion and noted the position of the iwi on Waikato dialect and in spellings and things like that. But we really put that back in your court in terms of working with your experts, internal experts, and can we just get a quick update on where that got to?
So through you, Madam Chair, so to be fair, that's still work in progress.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll need to, I'll just need to connect back in with our comms team, Sam, as to where to from here.
All right. Is there anything else then for general business?
Yeah, Madam Chair, just if I could ask a pātai around the reo strategy. And I think it's more the context. And I bring up the sign at Taupiri, where it says Haere Wai Taupiri, and Taupiri is behind the actual sign. So linguistically, however you may apply, it's applied wrong. And just wanting to see where we're at in that space and when might that be corrected? Because it's been there for quite a while, like over 2 years. But I don't know whether that sat with NZTA or WDC or with all of us in some shape or form. But if could get some feedback on that, kia ora, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I can respond to Don's question
Yes.
specifically if you want me to. So, kia ora, Don. So I've raised that matter regarding the sign topiary with our roading team. So it is a Wakakotahi matter, and our roading team will be taking it to Wakakotahi. However, they have also agreed to undertake a review of the sign process, road sign process, and will institute a requirement to also run those signs or the names past our iwi engagement team. So Sam Toko and his team, that process will be factored into the new way of identifying signs and also using the appropriate te reo language as well. So that has been acknowledged, and the roading team will be looking at implementing that.
Kia ora, Michelle. Kia ora, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, I think that's exactly what needs to happen. Thanks for that. All right. If there's nothing else, I just wonder if we could have closing comments from Axel, yourself.
Yes, thank you, and well done on a well-run meeting. We did have a little discussion about the, co-chairing is very difficult on Zoom, so thank you for taking up the mantle for this session. Kept us on track, and I think my reflection of the agenda today, I'm looking at this, particularly the paper we had, that sort of baker's dozen of initiatives that Vishal goes through. Just that the enormous amount of work that's actually gone through this last period of time, both by yourselves and by us, and other partners more broadly. It's been a really, really busy time, and it doesn't reflect all of the stuff we've had to do for other government initiatives or policy statements or papers and so on. So a really, really a lot of work that all come summarised now to this hui today, and I think we're in as much as we can. We'll try and lock in that momentum to carry seamlessly over the elections through to the next triennium on our side of it. So we're in good heart and good spirit, and I think, as Brendan mentioned earlier, the how far we've come and the way in which we've travelled together sets us up really well for this next period, which will still be very busy and possibly the change of the shape of the national at the national level for government there, whether it's the same parties or different combinations of. We're bound to see some significant impacts there as well. So if we can be strong together, we'll better be able to navigate through what are still, some turbulent waters to come, I suspect.
Agree. Yeah. So thanks, Axel. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance today, and thank you for the mahi that's gone on over the last few years since this Te Ara Tauta came into place and this term of council started. It's been useful, I think, to have that annual kōrero that we've been doing in the early start of each calendar year, and then to be able to set a program of work, which, as we've said today, is less about the political agenda and more about the long-term sustainability of Waikato District. For all of us, is a real big step, I think, from my point of view. So thank you all for, I guess, for allowing that to happen. I'm looking forward to the fact that that allows us to continue, hopefully seamlessly or relatively seamlessly post-election. But also wanted to wish you all well, for those of you who are in the running. It's a challenging and difficult time when you put yourself out there. But best of luck to all of you for success in the elections. And let's hope there are a few more people put their hands up so that there's a good competition or good contest there. There's a lot to happen, I think, in local government going forward, and local government reform discussions have obviously started, but it'd be really interesting to see how those shape up over the next few years as those conversations continue. Other than that, I think we're happy to close our hui today. Oh, and just sorry to you, Axel, just thank you very much for your constructive cooperation in terms of co-chairing this with me. We had a little bit of a hiccup at the start there, but we figured it out, right? And we've got to a good place. So thank you very much for your support as well, specifically on that.
Yeah, no, just I think at the point at which we realised that we were not we're not here to keep seats warm.
Yeah.
Get on with it. Actually, I think we found another gear for the JMA and our work together. So, yeah, my thanks to you. We did it together.
Yeah, kapai, thank you. I just Sam, would you like to close our hui? Karakia?
You might have ducked out for a coffee, I think.
He's gone.
Oh,
He's gone.
No, he's gone.
He's gone. The room is definitely empty. All right, Don.
Kia pai.
Kia ora, Don.
O mihi ana kia koutou. Koutou katoa. Me nā kōrero hora nei he rautaki ora mā tātou nei iwi whānui. Me o koutou nei pukenga. Kei rungi I te rātu āhuatanga. Tuku ana te karakia whakamutunga he koro ai ata whai mā tātou katoa. Kia tātou katoa. Te ata whai o tō tātou ariki ai hukaraiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu. Ake. Pai mai kia tātou. Āmene.
Mai. Kia ora tātou.